We'll see. Hi, Robin Forster with Feel So Alive and Feel So Alive Informed. And thank you for joining us today. And just to let you know, I will be looking down at my notes because we have a very special guest speaker. And I want to make sure that I ask her the questions because she's got some great tips for us. I just wanted to let you know that as a solo entrepreneur, I found that there was resources that I needed and couldn't find. So that's why we put this together to make short little helpful bits that you can take away and use right away. And I would like to introduce you now to our speaker, Valerie. Say hi.
Hi, guys.
And Valerie is a marriage and family therapist, and she is based part of the time in the Bay Area and part of the time in Florida. And I'm sure she'll fill us in on that. And she has been helping couples for over 15 years with their relationships. So I'm really excited to dive in because with all of the COVIDian times that we're living in, we're all living a little closer together than what we had planned on. And so, Valerie, I'm sure you're going to share with us some of the things that couples are running up against and what we can do about it. So if you'd like to go ahead and start, our first question is to tell us a little bit about yourself so folks will know who you are and your background.
Sure. Hi, my name is Valerie DiLuggo. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. Um, I do have my own private practice, and that was already all virtual before COVID. So I do feel like I got a little bit of a leg up setting all of that up. But yes, my passion has been to help individuals and couples through their relationships. I always I always say that there's so many tools and about relationships that we're just not taught, and so there's lots of hope in finding peace, peace at home, even during COVID. So that's just a little bit about me.
Oh, great. Okay, good. And how did you get drawn to this line of work, to wanting to help families and relationships heal?
So I don't know if everyone listening, if you know your Myers-Briggs personality or your Enneagram. So I've had every job that it says I would like for my personality. I've been a social worker. I was a pastoral counselor at one point. Um, and that led me to be a therapist. I thought, what part of my job do I just love? And that's really walking people through journeys of healing, of hope, and kind of the nitty gritty, the skills part. And that's why I do what I do. I love to see people just kind of get that aha moment and really feel empowered that they can have a better relationship. You know, we all kind of fall in love, and you know, at one point we thought this person was really amazing, right? It had really great qualities, but then, you know, figuring out how to navigate, right, the day to day, sometimes you can feel lost in like, well, how can we make this better? And there really are, it's not just luck. It's not just, you know, maybe I didn't marry my soulmate kind of a thing. You know, there are really great things that we can do every day to help our relationships. So I really love seeing that hope kind of come over someone.
Oh, that sounds really awesome because I've been married for a long, long time. and, and it does kind of, it's kind of cyclical,
Hmm.
but but not really, but it is. I mean, there's things that happen and different phases of life, and we're now in a different season, so different issues.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating. And I was just thinking what you said about, you know, you fall in love and everything is wonderful, and then you find out that maybe they burp or they leave dirty socks in the middle of the floor, or you know, and then
Yeah. See life a little bit different than you do. Right?
exactly.
Shock.
Yeah, and then you know, navigating all of those things, and I think, and I know that you can probably tell us, the first 2 or 3 years of marriage, I mean, it seems like you're just trying to get your footing, but it seems like that's when a lot of couples break up, that they don't
Mm.
have, what is it, the tools, or what is it that makes that so challenging?
Yeah, you know, I think I really like to talk about expectations of realities and kind of bash some of them, just because I say that like the expectation fall back to reality, the higher it is, right? The harder hit you get when, so I think that is part of it. I think that, maybe we're caught up in this, like, it's about the match, and if I just got the right match, like, it should be easy. I shouldn't have to tell someone how to love me well, when I actually am like, no, it's going to feel like over communicating, right? One of the best predictors for relational satisfaction is each partner's ability to be assertive. And that doesn't mean sort of domineering. It means who can ask for what they need. And so I really talk about plain communication, asking for it. This is how I'm feeling. Could you help me with this? Or this is what's going on. Would you be able to do this for me? Or, can you help me with this? So, or this isn't working for me. Right? This is not working for me. And I think that, for maybe especially some of the females, it's, well, it's less romantic, or it means they don't know me if they, it's funny. My husband, this is a funny story. The other day, we were walking, and I was just drawing in not the lavender, the lavender. And I was just like, oh no, the jasmine. I'm sorry, the jasmine. And it grows on the bushes, and we're walking, and I'm like, oh, I could smell this every day. It makes me feel so happy. And he was like, I didn't know you loved jasmine. We should plant it at the house. And I had to text my girlfriends right away, because they all know that. They've been knowing that for 15 years. I talk about it all the time. It's like, oh, you just learned it, like it was a big surprise. And it was just, so even, when someone loves you a lot and you love them, there's just so much that they can catch onto. And part of it, right, is taking ownership of what we need and what we want in a relationship.
That's such a good example, because it's so easy. I mean, when you're living with someone all the time, you kind of, I think, tone some things out, that you don't hear, because you're doing something. And for me, my husband plays golf a lot, and I don't play golf. I'm supportive that he does, but it's not for me. And so I really don't want to care about the bogeys and the birdies and all of those things that happen in golf, because it doesn't mean anything to me.
Sure.
But when he talks about how beautiful it was, or how his golfing buddies were doing, that it's like, okay, I can hear that,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can give a little tip in what you said on that. One thing I like to talk about is bids for connection. It's a daily, everyday thing. The Gottman Institute did a lot of research. They put people into rooms and watched them on this retreat and coded all their behaviors. And they've been able to predict if a relationship was going to last or not. Really interesting, like, was a very good accuracy. When they measured, when a partner was trying to get the attention of the other, what was the response? Was it, yeah. And little things like, hey, honey, look at that boat over there. And, obviously there's a range of reactions from, ooh, let me see, to, to, why are you bothering me right now? And especially if maybe, you and your partner have different, let's say, engagement needs. It could be like, hey, leave me alone, I'm trying to do something. But even just knowing that when your partner is trying to explain something to you, that's a bid for connection. It's, I want to share something with you. And so when you are acknowledging that, you're doing one of those little things often that tells your partner, hey, what matters to you matters to me. And so that's a little thing that, that even if, it's another bizarre, funny animal video I'm being asked to watch that I think is right, like ridiculous comedy or something, Borat, he wants to show it to me, okay, I'm doing this because it's his world, right? And obviously, there's all kinds of negotiations that you can make, but just knowing that you're doing something good for your relationship when you accept a bid for a connection.
Oh, Interesting. Well, and I like how you frame that you're doing something good for your relationship. Because we all know that it takes work to be able to communicate with someone. But it's almost like that win-win at the end. The what did you do today that worked, that was
Mhm.
positive? So
Yeah,
you can reflect on that.
right.
Interesting. Well, in the couple minutes that we have left, can you
Yeah.
share some more tips? Because that one was awesome.
Thank you. Sure. I wanted to talk about validation because I thought we can apply it to our relationships and also just to ourselves as people. Um, and this is sort of the counterintuitive thing about emotions. I think we all want to tap down emotions. If we start to maybe feel some sadness, if we just don't think about it or don't uh, honor it, then it will just go away, right? We don't recognize it. But the funny thing about emotions is that for them to subside and for us to feel like, okay, now what do we do with them? They need to be validated, they need to be recognized because emotions give us information, right? Emotions are telling us, they're just more information that we have about how we're doing, what's going on in the world. And so the information wants to know that it's been received, it's going to keep, right? I think actually you probably don't do this, but if my husband isn't hearing me and I'm yelling for him, I'll yell a bit louder if he doesn't hear me. Then I realize he has his AirPods on and so he can't hear me. But I will raise the volume until I get a response. And that's exactly what happens with our emotions. So, right, if we're upset about something and the first, we don't get a response, then or if you find yourself calling a couple different friends to see if you don't maybe know that you're trying to get validated, but the emotion wants to be recognized. So the counterintuitive thing is, I want to say, don't be afraid to validate your own emotions or your partner's emotions. Now, that can just really be about acknowledging it. It doesn't mean, I like to talk about what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that you are co opting or agreeing with maybe what they did or why um, it doesn't mean that, you're letting them off the hook for something. It's really just, if thinking about them as another human and how their experience might be, could you imagine if you were in their shoes that they would feel this way?
Oh, I
Right?
like that. Yeah, I remember there's an exercise where you put on the other person's shoes and you walk around in them. I mean, literally. And it's enlightening. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So I think when we do have an emotion rise up, to be able to say, what am I feeling? And then say, well, why could I be feeling that way? Especially in the middle of a pandemic, right? Well, of course, you're feeling stressed because the whole world is changing and we really don't know what's going to happen. Of course, you would feel scared, frightened, overwhelmed, frustrated. And then, and I don't, maybe you've felt this too, when you're kind of telling a story and out of nowhere someone says, like, maybe your friend says, like, well, yeah, I could see, like, yeah, you were totally justified, or wow, yeah, I can see how you felt that way. And you kind of stop and then you're like, oh yeah, like, thanks. And it actually calms you down. So so that's a great thing you can do for yourself. And when it comes to our partners, I think it gets trickier, right? And I'm going to talk about the Gottmans again. They talk about the importance that your partner feels like it's you guys against the world. That at the end of the day, right, you're going to fight for each other, you're going to stand up for each other, and you're going to help each other. What we know about attachment and our need for intimacy is that our partners regulate our emotions. And so when a partner comes and is like, man, I had a really bad day, and it might say, well, why? And maybe it's, well, I got in trouble by my boss, was mad at this, whatever. Now maybe as a partner, you know that your partner's weaknesses. So in your mind, you might think, like, well, good, now maybe you'll change, right? Or, oh, good, right? Like, if I were your boss, I would do the same thing. But at that moment, when your partner's coming to you, telling, right, like with the burdens of the day, they're not, that is not what they're looking for, right? And that is not what they need from you as a partner. As a partner, they need, man, I'm sorry you had a bad day, like that, that sucks. And maybe later, right, you can always have a conversation about like, well, whatever else, right, is, sort of the facts of the matter. But in that moment, right, what that person is looking for is for connection, for understanding, and that's a chance to validate what they're going through. And again, another little thing that you can do for your relationship that can make a big change. This one was hard for me. I don't talk about things that I haven't done because I'm a big like, you probably deserve that. But that's not what he was looking for. And that doesn't help us.
Valerie, I'm watching the clock, and yet I want to hear all the wonderful things you're saying, because I know you've got another appointment scheduled. And so it sounds like, just to encapsulate a little bit what you were just talking about, is to, instead of leading with "I told you so" to a spouse, lead with empathy. And you had three other things that went with that also that were awesome.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to make the connection and to leave the "I told you so" on the floor, switch it up, throw it out. It's not helpful.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
Connection. We're looking for little
yeah,
bits of connection.
connection. Yeah, that is so, yeah. I just really like, and we're going to have you come back, because obviously we have a whole lot more to talk about. And
Sure.
yeah, concerned about the time. So Valerie, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here
Thank you.
today.
It's good being with you.